Hello folks and fans, Dr. Rockwood here. I've just built a fire and I'm smoking one of the rarer pipes in my collection, this Rossi 8320 Author Shape. And in it, not Peterson's, but Dunhill's Nightcap. Now I do have a little bit more to say about this tin, but first I'd like to talk a little bit about my attire. Now I am wearing a custom cut crushed velvet smoking jacket, and with it a gold ascot, and of course my nice leather slippers with wool socks and jeans with the cuffs rolled up. If that's not Canadian enough for you, then I don't know what is. But I wanted to take a moment, having built my fire. You might need to see me tending it in a little while because the wood is a little bit wet. I brought it in from the backyard. It's ash, but it's only been seasoned for about a year and a bit. Whereas normally the optimum moisture of firewood is about 2 years out exposed to the wind and the dryness, right? You want it seasoned for around 2 years for it to burn properly. There technically should be no smoke when you make a fire or when you combust anything, because you're hoping for a stage 4, but there is a little bit of smoke in this wood, which does lend itself to the fact that it is a little bit wet. But I digress. I'm not here to talk about firewood, even though I could do that all day. I would like to talk a little bit about Nightcap. Now, I'm one of the fortunate ones that I live in a place where I can find a lot of the original Dunhill tins at my local B&M. The only thing is that this tin, when I bought it, seemed a little bit different to me. And I don't know if it's because it was destined for the Canadian market. I don't know if it was because the last run before Dunhill got out of the tobacco game and, you know, thankfully Peterson some years later took it up again. I don't know. But you'll see here that it says Dunhill Nightcap, and all along the top, that crown, that halo, says manufactured in the EU/Denmark under the authority of Dunhill Tobacco of London Limited, 1A, St. James's, London, Southwest 1 Alpha, 1 Echo Foxtrot Alpha. Pipe tobacco, net weight 1.76 ounce, 50 grams. But the most important part is that it only says a blend for the evening. Most Dunhill Nightcap, and I also believe now even the Peterson Nightcap tins, don't just say that. As a little tin description on the front, it used to be written, a rich flavored smoking mixture for the evening with its period of relaxation and leisure. Now I'm reading that from a little piece of paper here because evidently my tin does not have that description on it. So a rich flavored smoking mixture for the evening with its period of relaxation and leisure. Okay. Why the heck does mine not have that on it? Here's another look at it. Right? Is it a tin destined for the Canadian market? Was it a fluke? Do I have a rarity on my hands and this tin might be worth a lot of money? No clue, you tell me. Please do excuse me for 1 second. Where was I? Oh yes. This is where I was. Okay. So, Dunhill's Nightcap. One more aside before I actually talk about this blend. I want to talk about the shape of this pipe. Now, the author, no clue where it came from, but it has a super wide bowl, right? This thing is massive. I mean, I feel like it's just under an inch wide. But it harkens back to the Prince shape, which is a bit of a squat tomato with a long, slightly bent, thin shank. The Prince, as a shape, came about, I think, in the early 1900s, when it could have been Prince, I don't know, was visiting, I think it was Manchester, and a local tobacconist wanted to create a new line of pipes to commemorate this royal visit. You know, all fine and dandy, but essentially the Prince shape was born, and the idea behind it is that it had a wide opening. It was a wide and not too deep chamber, so that these beautiful English blends that we all know and love could have a lot of room in the bowl to aerate and for the flavors to marry each other, right? The wider the bowl, the more air comes in, the more that the complexity of the smoke has a chance to come out. That's the idea. Now, I do have a Prince. I may have shown it to you, I'm not sure. It's also a Rossi. I'm on a budget, so I tend to buy a little bit, you know, on the budget side. But here, this author has the same width of, let me see here. You know, the same width of chamber. It's pretty wide. Not that this is any mark. This is not a nomenclature of size for anyone to follow, but looking at it, it's pretty wide. And if I were to cant the camera right, if I were to cant it rather towards the camera, I would lose all of my ash and tobacco. So I have no doubt that the author is potentially another English shape that evolved from the Prince, because it does kind of look like a compact version of the Prince that's a little bit more svelte. But I do find a difference smoking Dunhill, or I guess now Peterson, but in my case Dunhill, because I bought it as Dunhill Nightcap, in this pipe. So I do see a difference in taste in smoking this very quintessential and heavy English blend out of this particular shape with this wider bowl and having the lesser depth to the bowl than I do smoking in any of my standard billiards. Now, look at that rich smoke, right? Mechanically, this blend is beautiful, very easy to work with ribbon. My tin came at a very adequate moisture level, nothing to complain about. It packed well, even if I packed it a little bit tighter, because I know that sometimes the Dunhill ribbons might feel like they're tight, but then the second you light them up, they expand, and then that draw is just so open that you're stuck tamping everything back down to get the right inhalation consistency, if you know what I mean, right? Akin to sipping water out of a straw. I overpack these bowls, and they always come out perfect once the tobacco expands a little bit after I do my charring light and my true light. What is rich smoke? Lovely. But yes, this is a delicious English blend. it is a quintessential English. Is it the quintessential English? I don't think so. This is a slow burning blend, no doubt about that. And some people say that it is really high in nicotine. I don't think so. Then again, I am a cigarette smoker. I roll my own for the most part, but up in Canada, we do have very strong cigarette blends to begin with. Things like Du Maurier, and et cetera, McDonald Original, and things like that. This is quite delicious. It's really nice. It burns very slowly. The taste is full. It's a strong flavor, and it has a nice pungent aroma, much like incense, but still, there is a fair amount of perique in here. And I find personally that it has more of an effect on the room note than it does on the taste of it. I can't really taste the perique. What the perique does do for me, though, is give me a little bit of a black pepper feeling on my tongue, a little bit of Tabasco sauce on my tongue. And honestly, I think that while this blend is wonderful with the perique in it, I would still smoke it if it didn't have perique in it. Perique is, after all, a condiment, and I'm not crazy about perique for perique's sake. For me, perique is only good if it's used in moderation to balance out or to bring out the rest of a blend's attributes, right? Or a different tobacco's attributes. Much in the same way as if you're to smoke an aromatic, a really good aromatic is not heavily cased. There's a little bit of brown sugar, and that's only there. Oh, do you hear the fire spitting, by the way? Yeah, that's the moisture coming out of the firewood. Anyway, as I was saying, a good aromatic, the tobacco is cased not for the sake of having it cased, but for the sake of enhancing the natural sweetness of the tobacco, right? And it's the same thing with perique, or at least it should be. Nothing against perique, and all you perique freaks, have a great time. It's great. The perique in here does bring out a lot of the flavor, and it does add to the blend, but this blend can stand on its own so much that I would be so bold as to say they could produce it without the perique, and it would still be a stout English blend. And quite delicious. Only problem with these wide bowled pipes, by the way, is because it's so wide and open, air has a chance to escape much quicker. Basically the tobacco has that much more of a chance of extinguishing itself quicker, as you would with a normal billiard or even a stack or anything else. But I'm also talking quite a bit because it's my video and it's my review. So I do realize that we're getting on in time. We're almost at 14 minutes now. But yes, briefly, great tobacco. It came perfect for me. Your mileage might be different. Overpack it a little bit, because when you do the charring light and when you do the true light, the tobacco will expand, so a lot more air will be introduced into that chamber. I find that if you overpack it, you can get that much little more out of the bowl. It is lovely. Not as high as in nicotine as people say it is. It does have as robust and full of a flavor. You've seen the velvety smoke come out of my mouth and in towards the fireplace every time I take a nice long drag. All in all, a great smoke, but it does not have, in my opinion, that delicious tar creosote sort of a vibe that something like Dunhill Standard Mixture would have, which for me is not only my favorite, but the baseline of what an English blend is and should be. Dunhill Standard is, for me, the perfect, hefty, cold weather English blend. It will never let me down. And this, I gotta be in the mood for. I couldn't wake up in the morning and have a bowl of this, nor would I want to. It's a very heavy blend, but it's a little, it's a little showy, and that might be sacrilegious, but in my opinion, I find that, okay, well, you've got this perfect blend here in Standard Mixture, and you just kind of overdo it a little bit with the Latakia and add a little bit of Puri to give it that extra edge to it and kind of make it rough around the edges with a little bit of that zing and that pop that you might get from a Tabasco sauce. And there you go, we'll call it a heavy English blend. I don't know what to say. I do love this blend and I will continue to smoke it, but I won't always reach for it. I have to be in the mood for it. It's something that I really need to be feeling to say, ooh, I'm craving Dunhill's Nightcap. And when I crave it and I smoke it, there's nothing like it. But even if I'm not craving standard mixture, I know that I can reach for a tin of standard mixture, smoke it and say, yeah, that was still a good smoke, even though I might have been in the mood for like a Sam Gallif, full Virginia flake. Anyway, I digress. I'm way over time. I apologize, but I do thank you for having given me the time to talk to you about this. Dunhill's Nightcap, now Peterson's Nightcap. Great blend. I really do enjoy it, but it very much is one of those specialty blends for me. Your mileage will vary. I know that this is just my opinion, and my word is not the law. I personally need to really be in the mood to smoke something like this because I'm not naturally inclined to reach for it, right? I really need to say to myself, I could go for a nice bowl of Nightcap. Now, your mileage, like I said, may and probably will vary, but this was my thoughts, these were my thoughts rather, on this very lovely and traditional and historic blend, and I hope you take this the way you want, take it with a grain of salt, take it with a glass of scotch. Cheers, by the way, and yeah, I'll see you soon. Cheers.